Hi everyone, Namaste. So I'm here with you for the 10 weeks of Yuktahar project. I hope you guys are doing well, keeping up with the principles of TBBD, and I am here for of course the project, but we are in phase 2 and I am in week 6. So for all the videos that has happened in the past, please go ahead, check the videos because they are all saved on the page, so you can check on the highlights, which is 10 weeks project, or you can check the 10 weeks of Yuktahar series as well. So what is today's topic and what I'm going to speak about? So yesterday I spoke about the topic which is fermented food with live microbes. तो वो सारे fermented foods जिनमें live microbes हैं जब हम उसे consume कर रहे हैं. At the time of consumption, these foods have live microbes, and that is was the topic for yesterday. But what is today's topic was something which is related, actually, continuity of what I spoke about yesterday. So yesterday I told you that you should include any one food which is from this category, which is the fermented food category जिनमें live microbes, and I told you that you need to include any one food every day for all the days ahead in phase 2. Ideally, you should have them right from the starting of phase 2, and of course people who have read the book, they know about this concept ki we are supposed to have any one fermented food containing live microbes at the time of consumption throughout in phase 2. Just one, you don't have to go on overdoing it. So how do you consume it? Of course, we discussed a lot of ways of consumption, but there's also a very important concept, which is the concept of symbiotic meals, and that is what is today's topic. Today's topic is about meals that are symbiotic. They are called as symbiotic meals by the scientists. There's nothing to be scared of, not a very difficult term to understand. Symbiotic meals are actually just foods or meal options जिनमें fermented food with live microbes है. So you have a food source which has live microbes, and you also combine them with prebiotics. So you combine prebiotics with another food source which have live microbes, and then they become a symbiotic meal. Of course, I'll run you through all the different examples of such symbiotic meals, very simple examples which you often have been eating without probably knowing that these are symbiotic meals. So these are not anything very difficult. These are meals that we have been having, and these are very easy to find in your kitchen as well. But first, let us understand it. Why are these symbiotic meals important? So as we know that you have the source of food which has live microbes, which means that these microbes, this live, friendly, helpful, all of these nice microbes, they are going to enter your system, right? So once they enter your system, along with it, when you're also giving them prebiotics, then what happens is, because what are prebiotics? Prebiotics are actually food for these microbes. So just imagine this is like the best scenario in order to build a healthy microbiome and of course to lose weight, is that आप एक तरफ live microbes ingest कर रहे हैं, of course through the food source, and at the same time what you're also doing is consuming food which will help those microbes thrive. Right? तो आपने microbes ही नहीं खाया, you have not only consumed live microbes with the food of course that you're having, but you're also giving them a food source. For example, say rice is a prebiotic, which means what? कि microbes जो हैं, they feed on the rice. They feed on the rice, and when they feed on the rice, they feel nourished, they feel looked after, and then they release certain anti-inflammatory compounds, antimicrobial compounds, which in turn help us lose weight, get better, reduce inflammation, and a lot of the other things. So when you're having, say, a curd rice, which is like a dahi chawal, so when you're having that, so you are consuming live microbes along with the dahi, and at the same time, because there is rice, the rice is also becoming food for those microbes which are present in the dahi. So it's a very nice and beautiful and the most effective environment that you can give to your internal ecosystem of consuming live microbes and the prebiotics together. So a very a very simple thing to do, कुछ भी बहुत ज़्यादा इसमें difficult to understand भी नहीं है, और it's not something very difficult to do as well. So a very simple thing to do, but something that we usually forget, because most of the time we are often asked to eat like just grilled fish for dinner, या फिर just आप chicken soup खाओ. So what has happened is that more often than not we are not having meals in combinations, but we try to isolate them and have. And that is why it becomes important for us to revisit our traditional combinations, because if we revisit our traditional combinations, we will realize that more often than not we were having symbiotic meals. Without taking any effort, कुछ भी extra effort लिए बिना, you will realize that it's something that we have been doing inadvertently, बिना सोचे समझे. But it's just because we have become a victim or a consumer, whatever you want to say, of this diet trends, जहाँ पे हमें हमेशा isolation में चीजें खाना बताया जाता है. That is why this book is of course there, my book is of course there, which tells you to revisit these concepts and eat in proper combination. So I have the book, and of course I have bookmarked the correct pages. We have this whole table that I mentioned yesterday also on page 179. So on page 179 you have of course the table of all the food sources that has live microbes at the time of consumption. So this is like one part. So उस table में ये पूरा दिया हुआ है. There's a list of all the food sources, and then when you turn back, then again on page 200 there's a table of prebiotics. What are the food sources which are prebiotic, researched and proven as prebiotics? So you have those in page 200. So what a symbiotic meal is nothing but actually making a combination of both the tables. जो टेबल है जिनमें fermented foods हैं, वो टेबल को आप लीजिए, उनमें से pick up any one fermented food and have it in combination with a prebiotic, which is again mentioned in page 200 in a table. So it's pretty much easy to do. And what are the different examples? The different examples of these is, say, like as I said, dahi chawal is one example. You can even do a dahi poha. A lot of people from northeast eat dahi and chura together, which is like rice flakes. A lot of people in the west eat, which is basically Maharashtra, Gujarat, they eat a lot of this dahi poha. So, dahi poha is there, dahi rice is there, that is one example. Then there is of course, roti with makhan. So you're having all the millets right now. So any of the jawar, millet, bhakri or rotla that you're having, just put safed makhan over it. So that becomes another, symbiotic meal example. How come? Because safed makhan, as I discussed yesterday, is a source of live microbes. What are the terms and conditions that apply? For that, please visit yesterday's live video. It's again, saved on the page, so you can go visit that. And so, you have that makhan as a source of live microbe, and then you have a millet bhakri, which is a source of prebiotics. So when you have bhakri and makhan, a very delicious meal, of course, but also symbiotic, also something that is going to help your gut, reheal and revamp and, rebuild. So one option, as I said, is curd rice. The other option is dahi poha. Then there's roti makhan. There is jawar rabdi. So we have a rabdi recipe in chapter 10 in the book. So rabdi is nothing but using buttermilk and a millet. So there's jawar rabdi. There's also bajra rabdi. So you have all these options again, which is again nothing but a prebiotic plus source of live microbes together, making it a symbiotic meal. Then there is, kanji vada. So kanji is again a source of live microbes, because you ferment the kanji, and of course after fermentation then you don't go ahead heating it up. So which means that the live microbes are retained at the time of consumption. And in that kanji, if you add a vada, of course you can deep fry the vada. There is no problem in deep frying. You don't have to air fry it, but it becomes a symbiotic meal. Now, of course, when you're having something like a kanji vada, you would want to have it in the lunch hours, which is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and not have it for dinner. So that is there. Then you can have fruit and cheese, you can have potato and cheese. So, who says potato is fattening? I remember one of the, followers during one of the live had asked me, what about potato? So potato is actually something with resistant starch. What is resistant starch? Resistant starch is prebiotic in nature. So if you really have potato in the right way, it's actually something which is quite beneficial for your gut microbes. When I say right way, what does it mean? It simply means that you don't go ahead to McDonald's and buy a French fries. It simply means that you take potato and just make whatever you want out of the potato at home. If you are having something like a potato and cheese and something else with it which quite makes it little heavy, then just go and have it during the lunch hours and don't have it for dinner, of course. So, fruit and cheese is the option, potato and cheese is the option. Then of course a dose of achar. So, with anything that you like to have, with any of your millets, with any of your rice, just a simple dose of achar would again turn that meal, it will increase the synergistic value and it will make that meal symbiotic. So a lot of these examples are there. In fact, a lot of these examples is something that you can make if you just so if you just check those two tables that I have mentioned, you will see that a lot of these symbiotic meals is something that you can come up with, because as I said, India is so diverse in its regional cuisine that each person will, come up with a very nice, innovative, symbiotic meal if you really, put your heart into it. So what I will say is that, I would like to give a home assignment for the participants, of course, of the project, that please go ahead, check these two tables that I've mentioned. I've mentioned the page number, so all you got to do is just go check the book, check the page number, the tables are there, and see the combinations that you can make. Look for traditional combinations that probably are pre-existing in your household but you have never thought of or you have never eaten them. So think of these symbiotic meals. And so write to me in comments whatever symbiotic meals you have in the next 1 or 2 days, or better still, make it, take a picture and tag us so that we also feel nice, and I also come to know about many more symbiotic meals which probably even I am not aware of. So, with this, I'll just take the questions for today. A very small topic that I wanted to discuss, but a very important one, because as I said, this is like the best way of eating your fermented foods which have live microbes. And for taking the questions, I'll just come forward. Okay. How about fermented dosa or idli? So yeah, fermented dosa or idli, of course, it's a prebiotic, right? So whether you make a millet dosa or whether you make a rice dosa, idli, it is a prebiotic because millet and rice both are prebiotic. So it is a prebiotic meal, of course. If you want to make it symbiotic, then you have to add something which has live microbes. Even if you add dahi to the batter when you make dosa or idli, that dahi ultimately it gets cooked. When you are steaming the idli, when you are pouring that batter over the pan and making a dosa, so that dahi ultimately gets cooked. So you cannot call it a symbiotic meal, because it doesn't have live microbes then. So if you're just talking about the idli and dosa batter, then just simply because the batter gets cooked, of course we don't eat the batter like that. We cook it and have it, right? The dosa and idli is cooked. So it's not a source of live microbes. It's a fantastic source of prebiotic, of course. And because there is no live microbes at that time, we cannot call it symbiotic. It can become symbiotic only if you have a tiny amount of, say, pickle along with it, or if you put, say, safed white butter on your idli, over the idli once you are having at the time of consumption. Don't cook it with the white butter. So if you do any of these things, then it will become symbiotic. By itself, idli or dosa doesn't become a symbiotic meal. So I hope that is clear. And thank you so much, guys, for joining. I'll just check if there are any relevant questions for the topic. So as I said, nothing that I can come across, but as I said, if you have any questions, you're always most welcome to put it in the comments. And I will look forward to most of the participants making some symbiotic meals and clicking pictures, tagging us, or simply writing about them in the comments. I'll meet you tomorrow 6 p.m. and then tomorrow, of course, I'll be taking up the topic of fermented foods which doesn't have live microbes, like the idli dosa that Shanif just mentioned about. It is a fermented food, but it doesn't have live microbes because you cook them and eat it. So that category of food is something that I'm going to take up tomorrow. Thank you so much.